Underdog Daily with the Badge Bros, John and Nez, and a very special guest. A very special guest that if you are OG in the streets, you definitively know this man. If you are a little bit newer, you are using stuff that he has created every single day to participate in these Battle Royale drafts. So we got Justin Pham here to join us. Pretty excited because they're creating a brand new tool over at Unabated that we are very happy to be showcasing on our stream because it has been a behind the scenes part of our process all season long. And if Nez's results aren't the biggest stamp of approval thus far for using this tool, I don't know what else could be.
Yeah, Justin, thanks for coming on.
Nez seems to be a little humble. He doesn't think the results are enough. You know, we gotta give him his flowers, give him his due. He's been crushing. But glad to be joining you boys, and been long time viewer. So happy to be chopping it up.
Love it, man. Yeah,
we appreciate it, man. You guys been doing a lot of really good stuff over there. I know you've been like head down for quite a while, you know, in the weeds with Unabated, and you know, we've been able to play around with it for a while now, and like, I mean, like, I think it really does sell itself. I'm really excited to be a part of, you know, the affiliate program, and like, I mean, I really do think that when people try it, like, I can't imagine like doing NBA without it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think kind of what we're going for is it's kind of a culmination of the decade I've spent in the industry between Fantasy Labs and Underdog, just kind of blending in the projection work I did there with the new stuff I did at Underdog specifically, and really kind of trying to keep up with how news has been going. You know, like even 3-4 years ago, I used to be able to, you know, we got some news earlier today that Jokic was out. I used to be able to bet that props or sides in the 45 seconds, minute after it broke, and still be able to get down. Now it's 5 seconds, 10 seconds, maybe 15 on the slower books, but that window has evaporated. So, you know, we really want to create tools that get you ahead of the news, get you prepared, so you can be putting in those bets before the news actually breaks when it is too late. So we have things like conditional projections where you can toggle what the Nuggets projections look like if Jokic is in versus Jokic is out. We have like a percent play prognostication throughout the day where we'll update, okay, this guy went through shoot around today. We already bumped Isaac Okoro, Karis LeVert, Sam Merrill went through shoot around, Luka went through shoot around. So we bumped those guys from 50% to 60% to play. That's like up to the minute. So all that stuff is really kind of getting you prepped before that window when things get hectic, things get, you know, news breaks, and all the stuff is kind of pulled off the board.
Yeah, no, I think one of the ones that you hit on there that's kind of been my favorite to mess around with right now is that conditional projection, because our site is so much different, and you know it firsthand, obviously, but our site is just so much different than like playing on what we call redacted traditional DFS, salary-based DFS there, where you basically you can hang on to your lineup with late swap for as long as you possibly want, waiting for the news. We have to make some definitive decisions as early as last night on whether we thought, you know, Joker was playing or not, right? And that really shakes up the draft board, and that you know, even when projections get released, they always err on the side of caution, or they always err on the side of Q tags being in, right? It's just the nature of the way things have been done for years now. Well, now with this new feature, I can drag and drop. I can go, you know, 10% if he's in, or I can weight it as I see fit, or you guys weight it as you see fit. So it's a very cool adaptation to traditional projections for our game.
Yeah, I think that's the edge right now, right? Like when you're either building BR or BRs or pick'em. In BRs, like we're drafting, like you said, night before, morning of, and I was heavy in the BR streets and in employee drafts at Underdog. You know, me and all the guys over there, Oaks and all them used to battle in the streets every day. And my edge was news, right? I would have a strong lean on if Donovan Mitchell would play or not. If I thought he wouldn't play, I would have 80% Karis LeVert, 80% Darius Garland, as much, you know, Evan Mobley as I can get my hands on, right? So I think the same thing happens with Pick'em, right? If you can get that in early. We've had a lot of situations come up where, if a player is out, you have a huge edge, but if a player plays, it's still kind of a coin flip 50-50. And those are the spots where you want to get in. You kind of feel like you're a free roll, a bit of a free roll where you have this added equity. If a player is ruled out, that you have a 2-3 point edge on the market, right there.
Mm.
So anticipating that stuff is super important. I think it also, the conditional stuff that we're doing, it really gives you a sense of where the market is leaning, right? So sometimes we'll run a projection set with the player out, and there's like no difference. So it's pretty clear that the market is already pricing that player being out, where you don't know that necessarily. You're coming in, that player's ruled out. You're betting into these props that are already factoring that in, where there's no edge, right? There's other spots where the market's a little bit more 50-50, 40-60. A couple nights ago, Carlton Towns, we had a lead on him being out that first game with that left knee injury. He had meniscus surgery earlier this year on that, and we thought he would be out. So we were firing up, OG over points, Jalen Brunson over points, Josh Hart rebounds before the news broke, and the market there was really uncertain. They were kind of hedging in the middle between Cat being in and Cat being out. So those situations are market edges, and it's really useful because the market price is everything, right? Like you just need to compare it. DFS, it's price sensitive, right? How much does the player cost? In props, it's how much is that player line in the market, right? So being able to kind of compare those two sets to the market, is very useful, because sometimes we're just kind of going in blind. All the analysis now is like, if Luka's out, Kyrie Irving gets more usage, PJ Washington, Dinwiddie, Hardy, and Quinn Grimes. We're just kind of speaking more in generalities, right? To be able to kind of like precisely measure, okay, what is the edge on this guy's points if Luka is ruled out, is super valuable.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, Nez. I was just gonna say, like, literally, just to put it in like one isolated phrase, it's just like the quantification of our Q tags is so important for us on Underdog. Like that is because that is so much of the game in which we play every single day.
Yeah, I mean, I really like what you guys have for the BRs and pick'ems, and for BRs, I really like it because we have this this market. I'm trying to think. I'm not static for whatever reason. I'm like totally blanking on the word here, but this variable market, right, of like player prices changing in real time, and you have so much information on the site that you can use, not just in the Pick'em tool, but just by looking at all of these player props to incorporate this in your BR analysis. And you can do it in more than one way. You can say, wow, the BR markets really like player X, and all of their Pick'em, all their Pick'em projections are lower than guys that go behind them. So you can either say, I'm fading that guy, or hey, I'm taking a higher on this guy because like the market believes that these projections on Underdog are too low. So I'm taking higher here. So you can kind of like really middle this stuff. And like, honestly, man, like it has really helped me a lot this season in both Pick'em and BR, just to have all that information just right in front of me. I mean, it's what's up. By the way, if you are trying to sign up, I mean, let's just get this out the way, right? Promo code badge. We got the description. I believe we got the referral link in the description. That gets you 20% off the first month. Just need to get that out of the way, because like it's the first thing I look at in the morning, man.
Dude, and I mean, no, sorry, go ahead, Justin. Go ahead.
I think we have also learned a lot in terms of our conversations with you. I think that's, we had that meeting early on, and you kind of told us like what your process is and what you're looking for and what you need, right? I think as a power user, both on the DFS side, the sports betting side, I played BRs like a year, 2 years straight every day, in those streets, and knowing exactly like what I'm looking for and what like is involved in my process. Just trying to create something that like checks as many of those boxes as possible for you guys. I think as a user, we're often using 2 or 3, 4 different resources, and going to each one for a specific thing makes total sense, right? I think, it's hard to find everything in one spot, and that's kind of what we're trying to build. We're building that that page for you guys specifically coming out shortly, that one pager where it has all the projected lineups, it has all the Vegas information, it has our projections, it has the news, right? So we want to be able to, like, as a user, I know what I want and what I use in my process, and just trying to bring that all into one spot, for everybody, and hopefully, create a resource that is valuable in people's processes.
Yeah, I love it, man. It's so spot on. I want to just kind of showcase half a second here for everyone. I know your guys' projections aren't fully up yet. They'll be up at 4:30, but just to show people like what we're referring to as like kind of like the central hub stuff is, man, I got the news right in my feed on the right-hand side here. I got all the game totals. I got the point totals. I got the spreads and stuff that I'm working with on the other side. I can see it in real time, how it's shifting for the books. And then I can see if I want to go one layer deeper and directly apply this to Underdog, I can go into the NBA tab. I can go to the DFS pick'em stuff, and then I can choose my own projection source. So I can either use a market-based approach from what's going on out there across all of the books available. I can customize my own. You guys have a beautiful download Excel that then I can put in what I think for every single player. So I normally just put TJ McConnell like 57 fantasy points and then see what it spits back to me. That's what I do. I'm not, not financial advice. It's just kind of what I've been doing. Infinite edge, according to
is what you get back.
And then you guys, when you guys release your player projections, we can literally just juxtapose right in the interface what we think is good and or bad versus what's in the pick'em lobbies in real time. So just knowing that those projections aren't out right now, I'll just fire up Underdog's pick'em lobby juxtaposed to the market-based projections right here, and in real time we will get it to spit out some stuff that might have a little bit of an edge here. So we're showing a 6% edge in projection for Jaylen Brown, who, as you can see, his status is ruled in there. Underdog has him at 25.5 fantasy, or that's points. And then your guys' projection, the market-based projection is showing 24.4. So we have a 6% edge if we want to put them in ours.
A little sneak peek here. We have them at 23.9 right now. So we're even a little lower than that. So we like, we do like that spot.
Can you talk us through that just real quick, like to incorporate it into today's slate here? You think this game, because the Cavs this season have been playing super fast. The Celtics are just chucking threes like crazy. Are you expecting a little bit more of a playoff atmosphere in this game and maybe a little bit slower paced?
We are, yeah. And I do think, like, a little aside from that Jaylen Brown, and one thing I want to caution is that when you're building slips, you need to obviously factor news into it as well. So we know Peyton Pritchard is questionable for the Celtics, right? And this happens a lot when we're comparing our projections to market, where we'll show a bunch of unders on Celtics players, but that's because the market is kind of factoring in the possibility that Pritchard sits, right? Obviously, Peyton Pritchard is a massive part of that rotation, their biggest bench piece, and obviously the minutes floor for Jaylen would come up if Pritchard ends up sitting, right? So yes, right now we're showing an under relative to the market on Jaylen Brown. But if Pritchard ends up sitting, our projection will come up accordingly closer to the market, and that edge will dissipate a little bit, right? So, I want to kind of caution that. Like, I'll give you one edge that we do like today. Cam Reddish, under 5.5 points right now. We are under market relative to his points. And with that, we know Rui Hachimura is questionable there for the Lakers. We're showing the under edge on Cam with Rui out and with Rui in. So we ran the conditionals on both those sets. So that's kind of what I'm talking about, right? We want to kind of factor that in. We want to be mindful of the news and how it would affect the projection if news swings a certain way. So Cam Reddish under 5.5 points. We also like the over on Trey Murphy turnovers today. Not any news there. Freaking half that team is out with injury right now. So we don't have anybody else to add to the IR at this point. But that's another one that we're showing an edge on. If we have it on Underdog, the turnovers. It doesn't look like we have
I
a
didn't.
market.
Yeah,
for
I don't have
there.
it. Yeah.
All right, I'll text Oaksy, get get that market up. Gotta get the
Get some
turnovers,
liquidity on there. We'll help you.
get some liquidity on that. But that's another one, another freebie, not on Underdog, but that we like at the moment as well.
Love it. Okay, so if we want to pair one other one just for Underdog's sake, because we're here and we can't do the Trey Murphy one, is there anything else that you can think of top of mind?
We like that Jaylen Brown lower on points.
On the points, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see what else. I'm gonna run our.
What do you guys have on Ben Simmons? Because I've been seeing a lot of Ben Simmons assist love on the higher end.
So what's his market right now? We have Ben Simmons projected today for 6.1 assists currently.
Got it. 5.5 with a bit of a dock.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think there's enough there to play it. Let me run our projections right now according to market. See if we like anything in particular.
The one
he's
that
go ahead, John.
No, the one versus market that I was looking at earlier was some of the Josh Green lower stuff.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I know there's a chance he starts today for the Hornets and blah blah blah, but it's just he's a bad basketball player.
I'll take a Josh Green lower.
I'll take a Josh Green lower any day of the week.
You're gonna convince
All right,
me.
You want to add we can add the Josh Green. I think the only thing there obviously is the Trey Mann is questionable. So if Trey Mann ends up out, Josh Green, like we would have his minutes go from like 26 to 28 in our conditional. So there's a little bit of downside there. Josh Green, I agree, not a great basketball player, but you give him a couple extra minutes and maybe he runs into a stat or two to ruin our slip.
Did you see any stats specifically, John, that you liked for Josh Green?
I put it in the Discord earlier there.
Oh, okay.
It was the combined rebounds and assists that I was taking this boosted lower on. This 4.5 rebounds and assists for Josh Green, and I was taking the 1.13 on the lower. How's that sound to you, Phan?
Love it. We're also showing unders on Javonte Green. He is one that has been pretty popular for us this season because he'll play mid-20s, upper 20s minutes, and he doesn't do much of anything. So we're showing the biggest edge right now on rebounds. The under there at 4.5.
We're getting a little bit of a piece too.
Yeah. So we're showing around 4 rebounds right now. Our projection 4.1, and that's with like a 26-minute projection. I think we might be a little high on there too relative to market. So we're showing the under even with an aggressive minutes projection. Javonte Green, we like that lower.
It's all sharp because it's straight lowers. That's how you know it's sharp.
Oh, sharp. Hashtag sharp.
It's the hallmark of a sharp entry.
All right, let's do this. We got Cam Reddish lower than 5.5. We like it. Whether or not Rui is in or out, that one was showing up nicely. The Jaylen Brown's a little more hinging upon the Peyton Pritchard, but we're still liking the lower on the 25.5 points. And then Javonte Green lower on the 4.5 rebounds. Even if the minutes are a little heavy, we still kind of like that one.
Yeah, with the Jaylen Brown one particularly, I'd be pretty surprised if Pritchard doesn't go. It's a massive game, TNT, national TV against an undefeated Cleveland team. These are the games that these guys play through these QTACs. So I think we're in pretty good shape with the Jaylen Brown. I think the market might be factoring a little bit too much risk of Pritchard sitting.
Love it. Okay, beautiful. That was a fun way to just kind of tie it all in there. Let's talk about the slate there and talk about some of these Q tags that are playing into it. Nez and I, tend to go game by game with the injury report and jump back and forth between the two. But I think it's really fun to get your feel just in terms of BR, what were some of the levers that you would be pulling in those smaller field employee only contests there back in the day? Because I've seen the win rate before, Justin. I've seen it, and you're not lying when you took over the hoop streets on the inside. I've seen this.
Yeah. So today it's a little bit tougher because I think the market's pricing Luka playing, and the news came out this morning that he went through shoot around. So ADP is like kind of adjusting to that news. We got the Jokic news a little early too, like he's out. So I don't think we're gonna get a ton of value on like Jamal anymore, or like fading some of these Mavs supporting players. I kind of want to talk. So one particular like not news. Base player that I saw was a little low on the ADP today was Austin Reeves. I think his ADP was like 23 or something like that last time I checked. We had him around the 15th, 16th highest projected player. So that was like the biggest gap I saw between our projections and the ADP. So I think there's like he was the one that stood out the most to me. Some of the other angles I think have been pretty well baked into ADP. So kind of want to talk about Cleveland a little bit overall. Yeah. They have a couple Q tags today with Karis LeVert, Isaac Okoro, and Sammy Merrill. Dean Wade is out. So we got news this morning that LeVert, Okoro, and Merrill all went through shoot around. So they should have all their guys minus Dean Wade. They've been a really interesting team to project this season because they have a new coach in Kenny Atkinson. And Kenny's been very comfortable going deep into their bench. And their bench has been quite good. They have the third best.
Shout out Ty Jerome.
Ty Jerome, the GOAT. Yeah, he made us a bunch of money last game. We had some overs. He came through for us. But he's been very comfortable going deep and using that bench this season. And we're routinely projecting like Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen in like low 30s minutes. Like they're not going mid 30s very often. Today, I think, is the exception, though. They're a little more thinned out without Dean Wade. This is a national TV game. Their undefeated streak is on the line against Boston. This is one where we gave guys like Garland, LeVert, Evan Mobley a minute and a half more beyond what we usually give them for minutes. So we're at like 33 and a half right now on Darius Garland. Generally, we're at 32 on him on most days. We're at 35 minutes right now on Donovan Mitchell. Generally, he's at 33 and a half. So this is a spot today where, the game environment, missing one key bench piece in Dean Wade, condense the minutes a little bit for us on guys like Darius Garland, Mobley, and Donovan Mitchell.
I like it. I got 3 really quick questions that you might have like really short answers for me that stem from this Cleveland conversation and things that Nez and I have kind of been talking about here. Does the fact that it's front end back-to-back play into your guys' projections at all?
No, because I think not in this particular one, because tomorrow they're playing in the Pelicans, who are massively depleted, and they have that bench where they can lean on. So tomorrow, assuming they go long today with their minutes, they play their starters mid 30s, upper 30s. Tomorrow is when we're going to, Darius Garland, we're going to go to 31. Donovan Mitchell, we're going to go to 32 and a half. Evan Mobley, we're going to go to 31 and a half. And Jared Allen, we're going to go to 29 and a half, 30. So we think about it like in terms of like how they prioritize these games. They're going to prioritize this Boston game way more than the Pelicans game, as they should. Tomorrow is where we're going to make those adjustments and lean on their bench a little bit more.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, love that. The other one I would kind of ask is a little bit of a two-parter that Nez and I have been kind of thinking through here. How quickly do you guys on like back end of projection and stuff like that adapt to new coaching staff and like new rotation styles? So something we've been noticing with Cleveland is the kind of core 4 starting, and then the second rotation is overlap between Garland and Allen and Mobley and
Mitchell.
Let them know. Fucking
Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell.
Let them know.
Let them know. Come off the court, and then they kind of stay off till the tail end of closing out the second. There, just thinking through some like macro with that and these trends. How quickly are you guys to implement? Like, what kind of sample do you need of seeing this?
Pretty quickly. I think we're very slow to change situations that have been pretty consistent and static for a while, that we have a big sample with. But new coaches, like pretty significant in terms of like early on when we're seeing Kenny go to his bench more. We're like, we gave it a couple games. We're like, maybe they'll let Garland and Mitchell go back to mid 30s minutes, like the last coaching staff. But then we were pretty quick to adapt. We're too hot minutes, especially in these spots where they have a potential to beat a team by 15, 20 points, right? So, rotations, usage, minutes, pace. I think another thing is like 3-point attempt volume. That has been a big challenge for us this year, where certain teams, they have players who are like 60% of the shots over the career have been threes. This year it's 80%. How quickly are we coming up on players like that?
What's an example of one of those, Fan?
Like Pritchard was one that we had a big problem with. I mean, it's not necessarily a stylistic thing with them, but he was like 65%, I think, for most of his career. He's like 85% early this season. Like he's lined, his 3-point like made line is like 3.5 some of these games. That's like insane. Wow. So, like all of his shots are threes, right? So we like Anthony Edwards, right? A big one. He's probably the biggest one. He's taking a ton more 3-point attempts this season. So I think that's been one of our biggest challenges with our model, just like kind of weighing, okay, we have 5 seasons where he's shooting this amount of 3-point volume, and then we have like 5 games where he's like shooting 20% more threes than he usually does, right? So back to your question, though, I think we're in these new spots. You should be looking at every single game as a data point, and obviously there's going to be noise there always with some of these blowouts or foul trouble, etc. But every single game for those situations matters more and under a bigger microscope, where you should be paying attention and trying to look for things you can take from and apply it to a future projection. So yeah, I would say, like in terms of my viewing experience, obviously you want to be watching the exciting teams like Steph or Ant or whatever. But I'm watching a lot more of these new teams just to get a little bit more insight into their rotations, how they're using players, because there's a lot more gray there, right? That you're trying to kind of fill in with what you see, right? And obviously the numbers drive a lot of it. But like, yeah, I think those are the most interesting teams to keep an eye on early in the season.
I love this question. Just as you were finishing up the spiel of changing things around, one of our recurring members, really good player on the site, Nick, is chiming in. What about just like the dude rock slider with a guy like Dyson Daniels? Like, how the hell do we factor in what Dyson Daniels is doing right now?
I mean, I think you're looking at the calendar. You're looking at the calendar. Rent's due. Let me go bet some Dyson Daniels over steals. That's how you're paying. That's how you're paying.
That's got to be a hassle for you guys.
Yeah, but like we're fine being aggressive, because the minutes have been up there. He's shown it. Like the market's been kind of a little slower to adjust, and
really slow.
We've been attacking it like quite a bit. Like the other night when even they had Bogdanovich back, right? Like his defense on De'Aaron Fox when Domas and their other DeRozan were out. You got De'Aaron Fox is clearly the head of the snake. You got some guys back, but you need Dyson out there, the Dyson vacuum, to get some steals. But yeah, he's been incredible though. And yeah, we have some Dyson to lead the league in steals futures that we're very, very happy about right now. Very
sharp stuff there. Let's pivot back into today's slate and some of the other things you were looking at when you were looking at ADP and Q tags and stuff like this. Are we kind of all in the camp that Luka's going to play basketball today? I kind of think we glossed over it, but we kind of felt, yeah.
I've got 40% Luka today.
Ooh, Daniel, beautiful. Did you have him at 2 or at 3 in your auto runs?
Dude, I had him at 4. And
wow.
Was getting and that was without Jokic in my ranks because I had Jokic out from the jump. I got a few in there because I'm like, well, if I compare AD and Jokic, like I'm gonna do it just to say that I can, and maybe get a Wemby swap, but Wemby got ruled out. But yeah, man, I was really shocked at the way that the market on Underdog was playing this. Like the Nuggets were 4-point dogs to the Grizz at the time of drafts. Mavericks were 11-point favorites. Like it was so obvious. In my opinion, it was so obvious, like where things were going in that direction. And I really couldn't believe that we were taking Jokic where we were. So I've got a lot of Luka, but that said, Luka doesn't even project that much better than Shea. So
yeah, that was crazy to me. The Jokic ADP there at 3.6. Like, you just go look at the market. Like, 3.4 point dogs against Memphis without Jaw, and a number of guys that they have been dealing with. Like, that is a pretty clear tell to you. And Vegas knows generally that Jokic wasn't playing.
Yeah.
I do think for me, there's a clear 1-2 on this slate with AD and SGA. And then you kind of clump 3 through 5 together with Luka, LeBron, Jason Tatum, and then like LaMelo is like a little bit of a step back from that group. So I think the decision is like, if you're at 3, do you take Luka, LeBron, or Tatum today? I think in terms of raw projection, I would favor Luka, but you kind of factor in, like, technically, let's say we're really aggressive with our Luka is going to play projection. Even with that Q tag, aggressively, you would say 80% he plays, right? If you look at the difference between his projection and LeBron's projection, raw, it's within a point. It's very close. So I guess I would lean LeBron over Luka, but right now, I wouldn't fault anybody for drafting Luka. How do you guys kind of? There's some science to it, obviously. Like, we're gonna come out with rankings that really precisely capture like Luka's 80%. You add on like a replacement player for him in terms of like a swap value, and you weigh it versus LeBron. You get like a more scientific way of looking at it. But in terms of like these situations where you have Luka, LeBron, and Tatum, and one guy with the Q tag who has the best projection, how are you guys viewing it? Are you trying to diversify a little bit, spread out your exposure? Are you comfortable being all in Luka of the 3? Where do you guys stand?
This is where Nez and I tend to employ what we call the scientific bro science model. And the bro science model says LeBron kind of old, Luka generational wealth opportunity at 3. If I lose tonight, I'll win tomorrow. Let's just go all in on Luka. That is what the bro science model says. Yeah. I love how we organically found our way to this conversation, though, because I put those 2 on the cover for a reason, because I thought it was the toughest decision on the slate. Yeah, Nez, what do you got for me?
Well, yeah, I think all 3 of these guys are worthy of being taken there. I mean, you have Tatum in what is going to be treated like a playoff game against Cleveland here. I'm really excited about Tatum. He's been, I mean, when he's on, he's been on. And we have Luka, who his sample size this season has been bad. I mean, yeah, he's been a good player, but Luka's looked like trash. Like, let's be real. Like, he just looks like there's something off with Luka Doncic right now. So that, coupled with the fact that LeBron is like Chris Paul right now with the dimes, I mean, it's insane. I can't. And against Utah, like, such a soft matchup. LeBron is going to probably put up like 20 dimes today. So like, I can't fault anybody for doing that. But what I'm doing is I'm playing this like. Every time I draft in like windows, so like during this time when we do the show, I'm not drafting, but in the beginning of the day, I'm getting, and maybe it was played a little differently, but I was really aggressive on Luka because I was like, I think this guy's going to play. I can build up a very, very comfy exposure to Luka. And now once people realize Luka's in, he's going to get a really big bump. And now I can pivot to taking more LeBron, more Tatum later in the day. So I've been, I try to analyze the way people are going to think about this stuff and get way ahead of it.
Can we bring up that comment again that said this guy Naz is smart? I want to backtrack. Let's say 4 hours ago, right? And we're coming in the slate with this ADP here, the way it is. I'm curious, like, let's say like internally, we think Jokic is going to sit, just like in our heads, we're not drafting him. And you have Luka at 3 internally. But you see this ADP laid out the way it is with Luka at 6 with the Q tag. Are you ever strategically passing on him at 3 or 4, hoping there's a small amount of equity or small amount of chance that he makes it back to you and he falls to you later.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Like I think in our auto draft runs, we will do it like we'll just rank him where we think he is at the value. But in our hand draft builds, like pending the players that we see behind us, we will definitely try and push the envelope to create what we refer to as the GM combo, which is like that unattainable combo later in the
Right.
day, right? So yeah, but it's relative to the draft window and relative to the drafts in which you're in, right? So yeah, we will definitely push the Q tags around the corner. That's kind of like our favorite spot from like the 105. And then you see a recreational non-badge player in like the 106 and try and push him around to get a Tatum plus Luca that won't be available later in the day with sharper drafters. Yeah, but in a vacuum, like when we're doing like the auto runs and stuff, I think we would just rank them at as like what we perceive raw value.
Yeah. Yeah. In the employee BRs, if I'm sitting there at 5 and I see Oaksy at the turn, I know that, big fish, gonna Luka fall back to me. So I'm passing on Luka there. I know he's gonna be there for me, in the second round.
Exactly. Exactly. We got the same meta. We got the same dynamics in the main BR.
Unbelievable strays caught by
Yeah.
Oaksy today. I just want to say I've done 55 main slate drafts, the Tuesday tip off. I've got 7 second round Luka teams.
Wow.
Mm.
Interesting. There you go.
Not bad.
Print Fest. Yeah,
Love it.
That's very good, dude. I'll
Good morning
go
to
through
you,
and
sir.
We'll see what happens.
Well, hey, that's I've been saving this little nugget that Nez doesn't know I have. That's how you guys get this nice, beautiful graph here.
Yeah.
This
Let
nice,
'em know.
beautiful.
Come on.
Let them
Let 'em
know,
know.
baby.
Come on,
Let
man.
them know.
I gotta start locking the doors in the house, man. Come on.
Oh shoot, man. Let's talk about some other fun spots on the slate, like just in general, fam. Like maybe like talk about the Pels
Yeah.
stuff. Like BI has been pushing up so heavily in our stuff, and then Boston goes in kind of the 6th round every single time. But outside of that, no Pels really getting drafted on our slate or on our site. Sorry. Does the BI ADP make sense to you? Have we not seen enough? What's good?
Yeah. Where's the BI ADP at right now?
Right behind Donovan Mitchell, like pretty clearly ahead of
8.
Jaylen Brown and J Dub.
Yeah, 8 right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, so we have him like 8th in our projections right now. Kind of after we got to that like a mellow tier, it's Jamal, and then I think it should be BI right there.
There's an interesting dynamic with the Jamal stuff because you don't have to take Jamal there to get him there, but you'll create unique combos in doing so. So maybe we'll have that conversation after, but just the Pels rotation and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a cluster F to project on a day-to-day because they just have guys in and out. We are having to get very familiar with new guys like Yves Missy and Brandon Boston Jr., and Antonio Reeves and Jalen Noel and Jeremiah Robinson Earls. These guys that we just like kind of put like historical rates on. Now we're having to put them under a microscope because they might play 26 minutes tonight. But they've been pretty kind of spread out with their rotation in terms of there hasn't been more than a couple guys that we were projecting for 30 plus minutes. It's Brandon Boston Jr. and Brandon Ingram, and we have Trey Murphy at 30 today right now, but he's kind of ramping up still, and he's not a guy that we're really interested in drafting. But things have been pretty like focused, in terms of where the fancy goodness is coming from this team. So I think you're correct. Like Ingram is that guy. He's 8 for me. And then Boston Jr. will be that next guy. He's playing a ton of minutes. We haven't projected at 35 minutes today. They just have no guard depth. They signed Jalen Noel like a week ago, and he's playing backup point guard right now, playing 24 minutes a night for them. So I think one thing I kind of want to cover too, a little bit related to our last conversation where we're kind of breaking down Luka versus LeBron versus Jason Tatum. I would say the argument for Jason Tatum is minutes upside. So you look at Luka, they're playing the Pels at home, 13-point favorites. You're looking at LeBron. They're at home against Utah, 11-point favorites. The game environment, and we talked about this a little bit for Cavs Boston, 5.5-point spread, but this is one where we extended minutes for Cleveland, as we talked about with Garland, Mitchell, Evan Mobley already. We also extended minutes on the Boston side with Jaylen Brown, with Derek White, and with Jason Tatum. So Jason Tatum, right now, we have him projected for 36.5 minutes, and that might be low. I think you can easily argue 37 and a half for him. Their front court depth is a little bit shaky right now. Obviously, they have Al Horford, but Luke Kornet has been banged up. We have him projected for sub 10 minutes today. They've been starting Nehemias Queta in some of these spots when they've been shorter. And Xavier Tillman, who got a lot of buzz coming in as a backup 4, we don't have projected for minutes at all. Like, he's been out of the rotation. So Sam Hauser hasn't really gotten up there in minutes either. So the path for Tatum to play 40 minutes today in a competitive game is very clear. So you look at those other,
especially if they lose Pritchard too.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So you kind of factor that in as well. The other guys don't quite have that. Like Luka and LeBron at their minute projections currently have more downside on that number than upside. I would argue the opposite for Jason Tatum. He has more upside on his minutes projection now than downside.
And they do seem like one of those teams. Like we haven't talked about NBA Cup at all, but they do seem like one of those teams that they were openly outspoken about kind of getting embarrassed associated with NBA Cup last year. They do feel like one of those kind of like we want to win it, prove it kind of teams this year. Do they not?
Yes, and not a back-to-back for them too. Right. So this is one where they can kind of let them go and let them know, I guess, against Donnie.
Hell yeah.
So I think Drew is one we gave another half minute to in this spot as well, and then some equity there with Pritchard questionable too. But I think they've been pretty careful with him. He came off Team USA. They don't really want to get his minutes too out of line. They're much more comfortable getting Derek White up to 36 and a half than Drew.
Yeah, that's a very good shout. Very astute. I like that a lot.
I love Derek White.
A couple other spots there we were gonna get into the Jamal Murray situation there now with no Joker there. He was readily going in like the third round. Now he's according to projections and stuff like that, he's gonna push up into this corner. What would you do with like information like that when some other teams have him in round 3, round 4, that sort of thing? Are you afraid of those kind of combos, or do you not care? You just ride with now what the new projection is and hope that you get some other, pieces in his place, kind of the evergreen, using him as an example for the evergreen notion of like CLV in our draft games.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I kind of want to hear a little bit more from you in terms of like the game theory before I answer that question on like that first part of it, where teams that have him in third round. For you, how does that dynamic change things? I think you're coming to drafts or coming to contests like kind of behind, knowing a lot of teams drafted Jamal in the third round, and he's right now projecting like a top 7, 8, 9 player of the slate, right? I just want to hear from you, like your thoughts on how that dynamic changes things.
I approach it in 2 facets. I will take him higher and take him at like the spot, but then pair him on the back end with someone who was previously undrafted. So I will then push him up to like 6, for instance, right now, or push him up to 7. I'll comfortably take him alongside LaMelo Ball. Now someone might have that combination in the 3rd round, but what I'll do in the 6th round is I'll pull someone from the left-hand side of the board from like 36 overall ADP, or I'll scroll what we're known for around here, the old scroll the F down there, and we will scroll all the way down and find some dumpster dive pick who is projecting better later in the day than we previously had early in the day. Maybe a Dalton Connect today. That might be maybe one of my top secret ones there if Rui is in fact out as we kind of think. So that's or here you go, Christian Brown music there. Yeah, that's another little wrinkle is then instead of taking him, you just take the pivot in the 6th round that was previously undrafted. Nez, anything else to add?
Yeah, I think in today's case with Jamal Murray, he kind of opened up pretty high in ADP. Like that's what didn't make sense about this stuff is like they were projecting like the market and BR was projecting Jokic in, and they were also pricing Murray as though Jokic was out. It's just, there's just juxtapositions that just didn't make sense. So I was taking Murray, and I think that if you didn't take Murray and you're drafting now and you're like, man, he projects well, I want to take him. I don't think that there's enough of a difference in ADP that like he's a they cannot draft, do not touch type of player. Like we like to say around here, and you know, haven't quite back tested this notion, but like if he's the guy you need, he's the guy you need on Underdog, right? Like we're drafting 6 players. If he's putting up like a top 10 score, just take him at the new price and compete with those other teams. And like John said, put yourself in a position to be unique, scroll down a little bit in the 6th, or take a 6th-round player in the 5th and pair and get your unique combo that way. You should definitely be thinking about that at that level. But you know, if I'm the type of person, man, if somebody's out and like and I need to make adjustments to my ranking, I'm a slappy, you know, I'm moving them up and I'm taking them because I think that they're going to perform well. And I don't think people should be afraid of it at a certain point. Right.
Yeah. I think what you said earlier about differentiating later is great. Because I think that's where, for me, the line I take a lot there is if I think a piece of news is going to move a certain way, and there's a guy that benefits. So that's where I take up the Karis LeVerts of like last year, where I thought Donnie would sit. I would take flyers in that range of players who aren't highly drafted ADP. They're a little off the board, but they have that potential to like sneak into like 5th round value, 5th round ADP if a news item breaks a certain way. Like that's how I like it. That's how I like it.
This is how we ended up with 20% Joel Embiid last night at lock with the D tag, baby. That's the old mantra.
Yeah. Love it.
I want to ask just in terms of like the scroll, because it is such a big part of our brand and a thing that we talk about, and we're always dumpster diving for value and unique pieces, more so in football than basketball, but just in general there. Justin, how comfortable are you sacrificing projection late in drafts? Is it a long-term plus EV strategy? Is it something that I do that's just dumb and anecdotal now? Is it relative to how much you're sacrificing? What are kind of your macro thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things to consider. Like first, what kind of contest you're playing in. If you're playing, you know, we used to play BRs or used to smaller fields where I would kind of just draft off projection mostly and feel like I can just beat people by having better projections and with some new stuff sprinkled in, right? If you're in larger fields, I think you also have to think about like distribution and like range of outcomes. Like there are people in like that 6th round range that they have a very tight, like small, predictable range of projection. Yeah. Like they're not gonna lay an egg, but they're not gonna win you a contest either, right? So if you're just like kind of a slave to the projections later on, you're just like going straight by them, I would go by them a little bit like earlier in the draft, obviously. And then the later you get into it, you're looking more for like ceiling than like median projection, right? That's how you should be drafting. That's where you should be, you know, getting out of line, you know, scrolling down and you know, finding all the value. And that's where you like really differentiate too. Because what I found, especially when, you know, we had some like BR contests for the employees on like Thanksgiving or Christmas that are like pretty big. You know, they end up, you get some guys like some guys like us are maxing these and get pretty big. And you end up noticing that there's a lot of like overlap between teams. There's duplicates all over the place between like your first 3-4 picks, you know, especially on these like smaller slates. You gotta differentiate somehow. And I'm not gonna give up the EV early on in the draft where, you know, I feel a lot more confident in my projections. I'm gonna give up that EV, you know, and projection EV later on in the draft and differentiate there. So I think that's where kind of your general strategy focus should be. Stick a little bit more to the projections and news stuff in the first half, and then as we get later on, you get a little bit more comfortable getting out of line and taking some stances on some players.
Love that. What kind of player archetype, when we're scrolling down to these kind of like 29 through 35 and stuff like that today, would you be interested in then? Because I think that's a really nice segue there. We talked about maybe a minutes bump for Drew up there, but he might be one of like the tighter band guys if it's not for the stock ceiling there. I mentioned the Connect 4-1 there. Scottie Pippen Jr. and Keontae George were two that I was looking at. Are those decent? What do you like?
Yeah, let me kind of go through this. Like Connect, I love. Connect, I think we've been doing like 2-minute sweeps already this morning, and we've come up on his minutes each time. I think he can play mid-20s minutes today, and he has an upside if Rui is still out. So I like that call a lot. Pippen, we have Marcus Smart questionable right now. That's a big one, obviously, because you go from like Marcus Smart in that spot to John Conchar, which is, a big difference in their minute projections. Pippen, the problem with Memphis, they have so many guys right now that are playing. Like their rotation is too deep, where even last game, Scottie Pippen Jr., Jaw and Marcus Smart were out, I think. He only played 26 and a half minutes. Like that, and he closed that game too, with Jaren and Jalen Wells. So he needs Marcus Smart to be out to really push 30. Right now we have Pip at 25 and a half minutes in our base. So I like that. So one other guy that I want to maybe highlight is Stephon Castle too.
Yeah.
So Devin Vassell just got downgraded from not on the injury report to questionable. And that's generally a death knell, like the day of, to get just added as questionable to the injury report. And he's a guy that, they're on Cooper Flag watch. They've been injury management experts the last couple of years, holding Vassell, Kellen Johnson, Sohan, all these guys out. We have experience with it. So I think there's a pretty good chance Vassell does not play today. And I'm kind of looking at that guard wing rotation, who don't want to target. Not really Chris Paul, It's not Julian Champagny, who's a good player, but doesn't really do much in terms of production. It's more Stephon Castle. And you have that upside too with the steals being worth 3. That intrigue me if Castle can get up to like 30 rather than like the 28 that we have him projected at currently.
Love that one.
Yeah, I've been taking some Castle in the 6. So thanks a lot, Justin.
Nez ahead of the curve as usual, bro. Ahead of the curve. I want to ask. We are kind of more so Nez than me initially. He was on this one early last year. We are keynote guys. Like we are George guys here. Soft benching last game there, then some coach speak. Do we think he comes back to the starting lineup? Can he matter in my life in the 6th round today?
Who are you talking about?
Keontae. We call him
Keontae George. Yeah, we call him keynote. Sorry.
Yeah. I do think Keontae could be the keynote speaker on this slate. I don't think he has a lot of competition. We have like Isaiah Collier behind him. We actually have him penciled in for some good amount of like overlap and him playing the 2. So Keontae we feel pretty good about. I mean, he's a key part of their future plans. Like he's a building block for that team. We have him at 31 and a half minutes today, which we feel pretty solid about. And we have 5 and a half minutes of overlap between him and Collier. So Collier why not both? You can play both. You can play Keontae and Collier, and get Collier in the 20s. So feel pretty good about him. One other guy I want to shout out to, the Trey Mann. I'm just trying to think of like ways we can attack this slate with news. And a lot of these spots are like we have good feelings about where things are going. Like the Cleveland guys, we think all of them are going to play in Levert, Merrill, and Okoro. We think Pritchard's probably going to play. We think Luka's going to play. Rui is very iffy, which is why Dalton Knecht is on this list. The other guy, and we talked about Vassell already with Stephon Castle. The other guy on there is Trey Mann, who's been dealing with his back issue for a bit. And Trey Mann is impactful. That dude, high usage, puts up numbies, puts up shots when he's out there. He ain't Josh Green or Seth Curry. So with the Trey Mann, you're looking at, okay, who on that team is going to benefit? I think it adds a little bit of ceiling to LaMelo, but he's already pretty high. But I'm also looking at like Brandon Miller as another guy who can benefit if Trey Mann is out. Trey Mann, one of the guys on that team, sixth man, who can take some of the point guard responsibilities. Brandon Miller, if you take out Trey Mann, gets a little bit of an assist pop there. They had their backup point guard hanging the year, Micic, out of the rotation entirely now. They've basically been running like pseudo like non-point guard with Trey Mann as the backup behind LaMelo. So you take out that piece, I think Brandon Miller gets a little bit more attractive in this spot too. So I don't really want Cody Martin or Josh Green and some of these other guys. You want the guys who can A, get up there in minutes, and B, have the usage to accumulate the stats, right?
I mean, look no further than last night with Keon Ellis on the late slate.
Yeah.
No
8
no
threes
Mung.
or 9 threes. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And he got
Mung, six man up.
Yeah, he got benched the game before. He was like,
I had a lot of them.
They brought in Mason Jones ahead of him. Like and they were trying to send a message like, dude, you are great defensively, but you cannot stop. You need to stop like passing up shots. And my God, did he not pass up shots last night?
Yeah. Well said. Some great shouts there. What do you guys say we hop in a quick draft here? I know you kind of got an out here, Justin. You have to bounce during the draft. All good, but if there's anything you want to kind of like say, explain that we haven't touched on, anything like that before we jump in?
No, appreciate you having me on, and I'll be back sometime soon. And appreciate everybody hanging out. And we're doing the obviously the NBA product Unabated. Don't want to seem too shilly here, but a lot of the stuff we've been talking about on the stream is available on our product, and you're able to kind of surface these edges before they hit the market and are accounted for. So
absolutely.
Appreciate you having me.
No, of course, man. You're welcome anytime. Legend round these parts, man. Everybody knows you as the man who got us the news faster. So, amongst our little bubble, legendary community member. One of the things that I've been really enjoying with the Unabated stuff as well that we haven't touched on yet is in the Discord. You guys have a NBA thread one before the projections drop or before your guys' behind the paywall show drops. There, what's it called? Set the screen. Before that one drops, you guys drop like a whole laundry list of nuggets that went into the projection. So you'll drop like front end back to back, back end back to back, and then like maybe 100 words on each individual team for that day. And I find that as a good like just mental jog before I hop in drafts to just rapid fire that stuff.
Yeah, because each team has a lot of context that needs to be captured. News we're waiting on, lineups we're waiting on, and it impacts the projections, right? Like a projection might look good now, but the market might be factoring in this player being out. Like I think it's important more than any other sport how news-driven NBA is to have that context heading in before making any real decisions.
Love it. This is a spot where if there was a terrible player on the back end here or a recreational player, we would try and
That's not Oaks.
That's not Oaks.
Oh, damn it.
That is not Oaks. That is the legend himself, T-Box, who's in the Hall of Fame around here, these parts. So we weren't going to sneak Luka by him there. So we'll go ahead and take Luka. Who do you guys want to do next here? We got BI. We got what do you guys like?
I got a dip here. But let me make one pick with you guys before we
BI, JB or J-Dub.
It's either
or
BI
Jamal.
or JB. I'll go I'll go Jamal over BI, yeah.
Let's do it. Jamal's
boy.
new ADP is 8, according to our guy Justin Pham. I
Thanks for
appreciate you,
coming
bro.
on, dude.
Absolutely. Yeah.
See you, buddy.
Peace.
There we go. Legend round these parts, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm stoked to be working with them, man. Very, very grateful that they reached out to us and asked to be a part of the product and everything. Super cool moment to be working with him. And seriously, man, I really do look at that stuff every day.
Yeah.
It's cool, man. And they got more stuff coming too. Like you said, like they have a dashboard coming that isn't even there yet, but that'll be perfect for that. We're going to show on the show every day. So.
Nez, we kind of jumped over this middle tier here, but by the sounds of it, with like the minutes bump there, I think maybe Garland feels like a good click here. Who have you been clicking?
This is like a tier for me where it's between like Garland, Lowry, and Reeves. I would do Garland.
Yeah, I think we might be able to sneak Reeves by T-Box on the corner here. He didn't have him pushed up earlier. So I think, yeah, there we go. So we'll get Reeves on the way back there. Another guy that Justin was on that you were clearly on as well. So let's do the Austin Reeves thing. I don't think Rui's going tonight. Everyone I've listened to kind of feels similarly there. So, a little bit of handling bump, a little bit of shot bump for the Reeves stuff, and then the Connect 4 in the last round there.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to Connect yet, but like the spot for the Lakers here is just fantastic. Playing the Jazz during the NBA Cup, man, I have no idea how they don't score 1 million points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it. Crutch said he's watching his bots drafted third person here. There's a bunch of stuff in the chat I want to hit on for sure. One was a strategy question.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Embiid situation last night. Just put a little clarity on it for everybody because I did get a number of DMs as to why their Embiid was gone or not there, kind of thing.
And meanwhile, they're looking at big John here, big underdog partner John. How come John gets his Embiid shares and I don't? Way to go, dude. Way to
go. Too good. Easy asking for a little recap there. It's just more or less Unabated is going to be our home for our interface for walking through projections and building pick'ems now. We used to bounce around between a whole bunch of sites and that sort of thing that we were displaying. And now it feels like that's going to be our home base going forward. And then maybe some dedicated shows just to it. Sorry, Nez, I'm talking all through this. Who do you like?
This one is like wide open to me. I've been doing Trigger Trey, man.
All right.
I mean, against Dallas, even if he gets 30 minutes, man, he's going to have to probably do a lot. So I've been doing Trey.
All right, like it. T-Box clearly adjusted his ranks for Rui being out and for Joker being out. He pushed up Christian Brown there and puts Dalton Connect there. I like that little stack together on the back end. Nez, are we scrolling? Who do we like here? I saw some Dario Saric. Yeah, I'm good with George. If we think he starts again, I mean, everyone's taking Clarkson, and Clarkson's going not every single draft, but he's going at the back end of drafts in a big way, and he was projecting somewhat highly on other sites. I think there's a non-zero chance that they can play. Well, they're going to be forced to play small tonight, Utah. I mean, they're going to have Collins and Lowry out there. But yeah, I think there's going to be kind of like 4 guards rotating nonstop, right?
It's going to be a pretty fast game, man. I think Keontae's going to have to play. Like, it is what it is with the results so far. I'm gonna keep clicking Keontae. We also, by the way, with everything John said, just to recap, man, because this is helping feed our dogs with this partnership with Unabated.
Yeah, good point.
We got the promo code badge. If you guys are you like what you heard from Justin and you want to sign up. Promo code badge is 20% off your first month on Unabated. We are going to be using the Pick'em tool quite a bit to see the edges in real time as far as like who looks like a good play in the Pick'em lobbies. They have odds screeners as well and prop screeners. And that is what I've been using quite a bit to see like what Vegas is looking like for totals and spreads and how they're valuing players on the prop side as well that I incorporate into my process for BR. It's just like at this point, man, it's becoming like table stakes, like a la projections, like just having access to all that stuff is like I said, man, I couldn't imagine playing BRs without that stuff right now.
Yeah, no, well said, man. Yeah, fully agree with you there. We will definitely be using that a ton going forward. And you guys can see it in kind of real time, hopefully here in about 8 minutes when their projections drop as well. Then we can, juxtapose the pick'em lobbies to the projections in real time for everyone there so they can kind of, get an even better sense for it. But yeah, we saw here in this one, Nez here, where Wiles goes ahead and takes Clarkson there. Like George, just a little bit of a hedge on like a pretty ambiguous sixth round that if the minutes come back up and he does start, you're kind of getting leverage off the teams that take Clarkson every single time, that kind of deal.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting a huge leverage on the Keontae stuff because like nobody's really taking him right now. Barely anybody is taking him. So, I think when it comes to the sixth round today, I can't imagine that you're going to need more than 30, right? So it's just like not drafting a landmine in the sixth round, I think, is what's really important. So, I know Fan wasn't a huge fan of Chris Paul. I love Chris Paul today because I can't find anybody in the sixth round that I'm worried about burying me today. So, with that said, I mean, I think the fifth round, somewhat similar. Like once you get past like Brandon Miller, like that to me is like a cliff. And now you can like really mix and match there. So I think it's important, there's like, we don't really use the word dead zone in daily drafts. I think like the back end of drafts is the dead zone. And Pete kind of applies this to BRs where that's where he scrolls down and avoids the dead zone. I think that applies to hoops as well.
Yep. No, I like it a lot, man. And I think some of the stuff that Fan was talking about there too also seconds that, where he was talking about contest size and needing to scroll for sacrificing a slight amount of projection for some ceiling outcome potential if a guy falls into minutes or a guy gets shots up, a la the Trey Mann stuff, a la the Brandon Miller if Trey Mann can't go, that kind of conversation there. I think this is a pretty big endorsement and stuff. Member curated, just saying like, oh yeah, he's been trusting anything Fan's been associated with since 2016. And like, dude, sure as shit, man. Like, I don't know if we articulated it in like a clear enough fashion off the start there because we were excited to kind of get going and talk about it. Like, he built what we all use with the NBA news trackers. Like, he built it at Labs first. Then he built it at Underdog, like the Underdog __ NBA account. He built that all up. So now all the table stakes stuff that basically, pushes into what everyone's using now, he's had his hands in it at some point in time, right? And then he was a good DFS player in his own right, and we saw it firsthand on the employee stuff, behind stuff. And he's still involved in Underdog as in like a advisory style manner right now. Yeah. One of the OG investors too. So yeah. Shit. I lost that team before I read it out. Nez, let's rip another one of those and just see how this plays out in real time.
Yeah. Yeah. I gotta get some new ranks in and get some more draft going because Luka's flying up right now, man. He was like, I think at one point maybe behind LaMelo. I'm not sure if he was ever like quite that far, but yeah, I mean he's flying up now. So I gotta see what these new lobbies are looking like. I wanted to answer Cage's question too.
Sure.
He was saying about how does your strategy change if you're not 150ing and doing 50 drafts instead. I think it all depends on like what your percentage of your bankroll is for that 50. But me personally, if I was just doing 50, I'm getting, I think what people would deem hyper exploitative with those 50. And I'm probably having 3 players in the 40% exposure range and really honing in on a few key players that I deem to be the best plays. I wouldn't be focusing on trying to, like I said, this is just for me. I wouldn't be focusing on diversifying a whole lot if I only have 50 drafts. I think I'm going to try to hit the guys you need and come away with some profit there.
Respect it. Absolutely. It's basically what I do every single night. I basically do the 50. I've been getting up a little higher this year. I've maxed one time. So, I'm almost back, but I've been doing kind of like the 50 to 100 range as I'm prone to do there. I would also do the majority of them by hand if I was only doing that too, just because I don't want to be falling into, similar combos, even if those are the players I want over and over again. I don't want to replicate the same combos over and over again. So I'd just be cognizant of that. We got ourselves a friend and family here. Nez, I went ahead and took SGA at the 2 there. One situation that I wanted to talk through with Justin, but we didn't quite get to was, in tandem with SGA is this OKC situation. Caruso going to be back. We're back up on the clock here. Jamal or Kyrie for you, Nez?
I think you go Jamal.
Yeah, I like it. Shout out Jazar, won the 10K the other night there. I can't remember.
You don't have to shout out Jazar, dude. I promise. I promise you don't have to shout out Jazar.
That's fair. All right, this is kind of an interesting tier here. I think everybody kind of hopes that Kyrie or JJ falls back to you. JJJ falls back to you there at 14. When he does not, who do you like kind of out of the Cleveland guys or pushing up someone else?
I've been taking Mobley.
Okay.
I think you can mix it up and probably should mix up between Mobley and Allen because I don't know who is going to be the guy on any given night, but I like Mobley more. And I'm pretty excited to see Mobley in this game against the Celtics. Like, this is going to be such an awesome game. I hope it's an awesome game. And I think Mobley's going to have to play a big part in it.
Yeah, I think like this would have been one of like the classic games like a year and a half ago that it was like, this is the basketball game I really want to watch tonight, but it's not the one I want to be invested in fantasy. But now that's changed with the speed in which the Cavs are playing, with some of their rotation pieces, with the extension of some minutes potentially tonight, it being NBA Cup, and then the condensing on the Boston side. They're short bodies, especially big bodies. So I really like the shout from Justin there that we could give an uptick to the Tatum minutes. We could give an uptick, in projection to the starter minutes there. As we are back up here, Reeves comes back to us. I kind of think that was a tier break for us and someone that, we should pay tribute to Fan and select here.
Yeah, this is like kind of a no-brainer.
Smashville?
I think so. I mean, Miles Bridges has been playing well since he got back, and maybe there's no Trey Mann that could help, but yeah, I love Reeves today.
Brandon Miller went at 21 there. I was kind of looking like where he went there. Zach Collins starting tonight. That game could go small because there's not much size on either end of the floor, but they might end up just leaving Zach Collins out there. Who do you like out of this next
group?
I
like Collins, man. I think they don't have a choice.
Okay.
Like they can't not play Collins tonight. So
yeah, that's a good segue and funnel into the conversation that we haven't had yet that I was leading to with OKC. Sam Olsen saying like Aaron Wiggins night as like a click in the 6th round here. I anticipate him starting tonight. It just interesting. There's no Isaiah Joe. That was kind of one of the other ones we hadn't hit on yet. Like they've been forced to play really small without Chet. SGA was their biggest player on the floor starting last game or 2 games ago at like 6'5", 6'6". So yeah, man, these auto drafters we can't even get a conversation in.
I know we can't multitask anymore.
No, we can't. Actually, you know what, Nez? We're gonna scroll the F down here.
Of course.
We're going to scroll the F down. We could do Christian Brown here. We could do Holiday with a minutes uptick, or we could pay tribute to the man who was on the program before, giving away the alpha, who told us Castle with a ceiling at this back end. If he falls into a couple stocks, he's known as a steals guy. He falls into a couple stocks. He gets extended run and starts tonight, plays like 30 minutes, that we could take Castle in the 6th round. What do you think?
Yeah, like I said, I don't think taking a chalk piece or a highly drafted piece in the 6th is like a fantastic idea personally. Because like I said, I'm looking for 30 in the 6th round today. That's kind of how I'm treating it. And, Castle fits that bill.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. I'll give you guys a little preview right quick of what Unabated does right when the projections lock. Is they drop this that goes alongside it in the Discord there. And it's just, a summary of everything that's going on right now. So if you are not playing and you're not playing all day long, you're not following the news all day long, and you are not watching our show all day long, like that kind of stuff, and you're not like doing the crazy sicko shit, this is a beautiful summary of basically everything that we'll be saying on our show and they'll be saying on their show and such. But you have to be a member of the Discord and part of that community to do that. Yeah. All right. What else we got to talk about, guys?
I mean, I don't know. I just think there's a lot of options in the 6th round. Like you can just can name like a lot of people, and I'd probably be like, yep, that makes sense. Like another person that I'm thinking about rotating in is Al Horford. You know, and that same, and just everything that we said about the Celtics, I think applies to Al Horford. Plus, you have the matchup with Cleveland, which I think necessitates Horford being on the floor quite a bit. So I just think it makes a lot of sense, and it's hard to. I mean, well, I guess it's easy to poke holes in a lot of the 6th round guys, but like I said, man, like it's hard to envision anybody back there really, really crushing today. And I mean, famous last words, but I'm not really stressing those 6th round picks too much. I'm just trying to not get over concentrated on any of those guys because you know, I want to have as many teams live as possible. And I think that's going to be a big part of it is like, are you getting 10 from that 6th round pick? Or like I said, are you getting 30?
I like it, dude. Easy asking, instead of going with Connect, thoughts on going with Rui with the swap? I think you might just be swapping to Connect unless he gets ruled out before. Because one thing I will say about this slate tonight is every start time is staggered by 30 minutes. So the swap windows, you know, you just got to be mindful of. So you would really have to be on it to do that. I mean, Rui's not I wouldn't want to play Rui tonight if you got stuck with a big bag of Rui, because I don't think they necessarily need the size and to play all that big. But if he does go and does start, play like 28 minutes tonight, I just think everyone in the industry is projecting him out for a reason. So maybe it's safe to do that and then just swap before the window in which he's ruled out. But you just have to be really cognizant of when that window is, because you might get caught sleeping if you're not checking every half an hour, right? Because the way the starts are staggered, opposed to all starting at 7 and all starting at 10.
Yeah. The way the swaps work, you really got to be mindful of the start times.
Speaking of which, I think that's a good segue to have the Embiid conversation for last night. I just wanted to clarify what happened with Embiid last night. A lot of people had a lot of questions. Embiid was a questionable tag when the slate opened. Then he became a doubtful tag in the midday. And then he remained a doubtful tag all the way past lock. And then his status switched to in. So what that means for our game, bear with me. I'm going to use, I guess I could use Eastern time because I can do math quickly in my head here. But basically, when the slate locks at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific there, it is definitively locked. It doesn't matter what time the games tip at. So we see this with news all the time that you have to have your swap rankings in, or you have to have your rankings done and ready right before then. It doesn't matter what the actual tip is, because in basketball, they tend to start at 4:10 or 4:11 or 7:10, 7:11, that sort of deal. So what ended up happening is we got a news nugget that he was going to go through warmups, but the warmups nugget isn't official and it's not attached to an injury report, i.e. the NBA injury report that comes out every hour on the half an hour that Nez and I reference every single day on this. That is what dictates ins, outs, doubtfuls, Q tags on the site. They have to be official. So what happens in the Embiid instance is, because he has no official designation, he remains doubtful on the site. So if you drafted Embiid with a Q tag and then it goes to a D tag, which has happened in the middle of the day, that D tag swaps at lock by rule. That is just Underdog's rule. That's every single sport, because more often than not, a doubtful tag is in fact an out tag, and you want to have the largest window of swaps. But if you drafted Embiid as a D tag, you could keep him because you took on the risk of the fact of knowing. And what happens on the app is when you click him, you have to manually click him. You can't get him via auto draft. But if you manually click, let's see if there's a good one on the site right now. We can just use an out tag from Wemby to illustrate. If you click, you see this out tag, you will get a pop-up notification. Are you sure you want to select this player? Because that player is not swap eligible. So by assuming the risk of the D tag, you are also assuming the risk of if he doesn't go after warmups, you get a 0 for that player. So the risk in drafting Embiid with the D tag last night gets paid off by him playing, or it just kills your lineup because it's a definitive 0 and you never get a swap for it if you take him with a D tag. Anything else to add to that, Nez? I guess to tie a bow on it, it means you didn't get to keep Embiid if you drafted him with a Q tag because he swapped, and you got to keep him if you drafted him with a D tag, which means you kind of had like leverage over the field because D tags don't swap.
Yeah, no, I mean, you explained it exactly. No, it was just like a really stupid situation by the Sixers, I think. It was just absolutely.
Yeah. Did I freeze or did Nez freeze?
Sorry, did I cut out?
Yeah, you did. Okay, we're good. I thought I was like, I just lost everyone. No, finish your thoughts.
I need to get a hard wire in here. I don't know where I cut out, but yeah, screw the Sixers.
I mean, the Sixers are renowned for this shit. Like, it's the Sixers that just they're the ones that always do this, and it's always fucking Embiid, dude. It's always Embiid.
It's unreal.
Anyways, Al Horford does scroll the F down. Nez, the projections are out for Unabated, I believe. So I'm gonna go to their pick'em thing and just see if there's anything we like. As I alluded to earlier here, you choose your site for Underdog there. I'm showing this, right? Yeah, okay. Then we're going to use the Unabated projections. You can blend the projections. You can blend market with your own projections, do that sort of thing. Well, now that theirs are in here, we can search it by the edge view, or we can search it by individual players, and we can see where their projections don't like other spots. They're showing a 14% edge right now on Jordan Clarkson on the lower on assists. That's how you know that it's sharp. It's the lower. The sneak peek that Fan gave us earlier, they like the Javonte Green. They like what we like right now, Nez, by thinking Keontae George starts and he lives up to that points potential there. And you can kind of build them out in here. You can see how the total edge is reflected. You could sift through and, monitor as you see fit. And then here's the conditional that we were alluding to. So they have it at a 60% frequency right now that Luka will play. You can filter it by Luka being out. You can filter it by Rui being out. So then their projection will naturally boost other ones there. So if you want to get ahead of some news that you have better than a 50% lean on, by all means, you could just click Trey Mann out, and then maybe we get a Brandon Miller boost. Maybe we get whatever, and you can see what are good and or bad based on that. Anything else to add here, Nez?
No, just like a really easy, clean way to see who they think is a good pick. I mean, it's just it's a really clean setup, and I haven't seen anything else like this for Underdog Pick'em. So yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun to use, and I really like the idea of kind of toggling back and forth between like their projections versus the market. And seeing who's objectively a pretty nice value on Underdog, while also getting some of like their brains involved with it as well. So toggling back and forth between the two is what I like to do. Like I said, man, I spend a lot of time on here looking at just different markets and their projections at the same time. So a lot of different ways to go about doing this. And then you gotta actually enter the picks on Underdog. They're hopefully gonna have like an option to like build the pick'em on the site and then launch directly into Underdog with the pick'ems filled out, but not there yet on that. But just a really, really cool visualization on trying to find the good picks. Oh boy.
Oh, I think we just got doxxed. The Numi's watching the stream, man. This is crazy. Let's see if I could get it in quickly here. Jordan Clarkson assists are gone. You got to be quick.
Rip.
Let's
see
what
see if we get an update.
See if we
on
could
that.
get the Clarkson one here. Assists are gone. They're too quick. You got to be quick out here. We're not going to get away with this on stream.
James, I saw your comment as far as NCAA basketball projections and stuff. They do have like, I think it's part of like their whole tool. I think they call it concierge. It's different than like what we are partnered with. Like we are partnered with the NBA package, so they do have something there. But you can just use like they have a list of all the odds on everywhere that's offering odds for the games themselves for college basketball, if that's your thing. So definitely just go ahead and check that out on that side.
Okay, I just did it, Nez. We got docked on the Jordan Clarkson. They took it down, then they put it back up again, and they gave us the 0.9 instead of the full. But we'll take it anyways. We got to play alongside here. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes, if you had to close a book on the Embiid, if you had Q tag Embiid, you get a swap for him. But the problem is at that point in time, people wanted to keep him. That's what the discrepancy is here. But it's a trivial rule versus like official rule on the site versus injury report versus subjectivity discussion there. So yeah. What up, Jackson? Rolling through. Nez, man. Nez, what do you think? One more hoops one here and call it a show? Keep it all hoops? Or should we try and sneak in a cheeky dog bowl?
Let's do one more hoops draft. It's a little later in the day than usual for us. So I gotta get more drafts done. I'm trying to, it's like a 3-day process. I'm trying to build a dresser. But like, I've got a draft. And there's a lot of screws, a lot of wood dowels. I gotta glue the dowels in. Like, why can't I just like firmly insert them? I gotta use this little fucking glue they give me. The glue sucks. Like, so it's like it's understood. I'm like, listen, like this, like it's hard for me to even concentrate on like anything. I'm like with NBA going on right now. Like you gotta understand this is gonna be like a 3-day build. So I need to chip away at that because if it's not done in 3 days, I'm gonna get in trouble.
Oh, I love it, dude. This is Evan's in the same camp as you, building a dresser to future dad life.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So I'm juggling a lot right now.
Yeah, and just so it's crystal clear, yes, Noah. If you drafted Embiid with the Q tag, he's swappable. If you drafted him with a D tag, he is not swappable. There you go.
That is correct.
Firmly grasp it in your hand. Didn't you start that dresser a week ago?
No, what was I doing a week? I think you're thinking of the dryer or something. No, the dresser has just finally been unboxed yesterday, and then it got a little dark, and it was pad thai time.
I'm gonna do it because Nez will never fucking do it for himself, guys. Nez has been killing it in the NBA streets, and we got to show his distribution of lineups right now. Sorry for doxing Scott's email, but this was sent to the Discord yesterday. Nez has been killing it in the hoops here. You can look at his expected results versus his results, and you see this expected line going straight north. No bar Mexico out here. Mad respect, Nezzy, for these are the tools, man. These games have evolved so effing much in the last couple of years, but just to put credence to the fact that like, he's good at the games, bro.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate that. We'll see. We'll see if we can keep this up, or if I'm just the sunnest runner of all time. But time will tell.
BI or Jamal Murray for you, Nez?
I think BI. Okay. Still, I know that.
BI?
Yeah, I know Jamal is going to project really well. Does project really well. BI though is like he's that entire team, and against Dallas, I think he still has a chance to put up a pretty nice fantasy score.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, we curated my graph looks pretty nice too. It's not as nice as Nez's, so actually I haven't even seen it, to be honest. But I know it's nice based on the leaderboard. But yeah, I thought I was gonna take it down. That's one I missed off the top because we were so consumed with what was going on with Fan and stuff like that. Shout out to Chris, took down the Dunk After Dark, the dad last night, and Vinny D, both viewers of the program, both friends of the show, took down the main slate for 10K there. I was touching ice last night, but when I went on the ice there, Nez, I had 5 lineups in the top 10 of the dad with like 30 minutes left. I thought I was gonna take it down, and
you had the key on Ellis, man. You had the skeleton key. I did not.
Yeah, I was. I jammed at lock. I jammed like 30 of them. Nez, let's make a selection here. We can double down on this game environment with the Boston stuff. Take Jared Allen. Is there someone else you'd prefer?
I think I would do Jared Allen.
Okay. I like it. Yeah, the Keon Ellis, and then I had a whole bunch of Kuminga and my guy Zachary.
Ricochet.
It's a French name.
It was weird. They called it lateral lower leg inflammation.
Yeah,
I don't know what that means.
The Jalen Johnson rule out, Nez is referring to, that happened abruptly out of nowhere. Sorry, Nez, let's get back to that in 1 second here. Do you pair Garland with Allen? We've been noting the splits that they're on the floor together. I like Collins. Yeah, you like it better? Okay.
Yeah. Let's do the little pairing there.
Yeah. I do think it's somewhat noteworthy when we were talking through the news stuff there that they are front end back to back. I think a bunch of these guys are going to be a headache to deal with tomorrow. I think Garland's going to end up being one of the sit candidates for tomorrow. Just the way they've been talking and the way they've been talking about staggering him and Donovan Mitchell. And Mitchell sat the last time, and Darius Garland's been dealing with a back thing right now. It's not listed on the injury report, but it was previously listed. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, good shout. Well, tomorrow I'll be bumping Garland down in the ranks then.
There you go. Just like little things like that, we talk about the fluidity of these slates, right? Like we're always getting news. We're always getting knowledge. You take a couple days off and it's hard to play catch up. But when you have some of these tools and you have us as a resource and you have that, like the guys that are tapped in night after night after night, the trickle over effects, even if you don't win tonight, just having that knowledge for tomorrow is going to pay dividends, right?
Yeah, no, for real.
Brandon Miller goes there. Zach Collins goes there. Dennis Schroeder, a guy we haven't really talked about yet that's going a ton here. I throw my hat in the ring for Drew here, but you like the trigger. What do you like?
Yeah, let's do Drew. Let's do Drew.
Okay. Do you care that it's paired with double Cleveland, double Boston at all?
No, I might. Or is that a good thing?
Yeah, I agree with you. That's where my mind went. Any love for any Denver piece? One thing that we didn't note with the Joker splits is Joker on the floor. Denver's the best offense in basketball. Joker off the floor, they're the worst. But they're the worst offense in basketball, and that's not hyperbole. So, any love for any of those pieces? Yeah, I don't know. Who do you want to click on in this back end?
I mean, Memphis is just so deep that I don't know that there's too much of a scroll there. I like Christian Brown one. Let's do Connect.
Okay.
I really like Brown. I like Christian Brown.
Okay. I like that. I respect that a lot there. Obviously a little uptick in the handling rule there. And man, why did I just blank on Jamal? Jamal had one ceiling game in recent memory. The rest of it's been pretty mid, and he's been pretty banged up. He was banged up in the preseason. He had Q-Tex to start the year. Maybe there is a reason without Gordon, without Joker, that offense is sputtering in such a huge way.
Yeah, I mean, he's an extremely important piece. I don't think it's as simple as just funneling usage to other guys there.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I can understand it.
Do you have a lean on? Obviously, the chat's been talking about Dario Saric, a guy that we're
Where are they seeing him projecting well?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked at anything
Is,
else.
is it just a straight up underdog projection in the rankings or something? Like, I don't. I mean, I don't see him projecting off the page. Like, he's a fine 6th-round pick because he's going to start. But I don't know. I don't see where he's like projecting really well. But everybody's talking about him right now, so maybe draft some.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. It's like I don't really know what to make of that Memphis game because like Memphis could play big and they could play like Brandon Clark at the 5 and Jaren Jackson, and they could play like Salty Aldama, who's like big, and end up with like 3 of them on the floor. And like you have a pretty small Nuggets lineup, but we just saw this matchup last week or last whatever it was, like 3 nights ago or something like that. We already saw this one. And man, we saw them go to like DeAndre Jordan in the second half. It's interesting.
Yeah, they are referring to the site projection. The site projection has Saric as like a 36.9. Okay. So that's what's being referred to, by the way.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Anything else that we've missed today, Nez, that we got to hit on, that we got to talk about?
No, I don't think so, man. It's a very interesting slate. I wouldn't be too married to ADP or projections, really. It's going to be a fun one though. NBA Cup, man, has been really entertaining. So I'm excited to hashtag watch the games.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm excited to just watch the games in general. Just be a fan tonight because I am really looking forward to that undefeated Cleveland versus Boston game after Boston got embarrassed by Atlanta in the first NBA Cup game here, and you get last year's champs going up against the undefeated team right now. Nick's saying, to be fair, ETR has projected 3 points less than the guys going 100% draft at the time. So maybe a little bit of leverage in the Saric scroll there. So ETR likes him as well, I guess.
Yeah. We'll see, man. I know Saric, like in 20, back in the day, Saric, yeah, got to jam him in, but his, I don't know.
Last parting question here, Nez, before we tie bow. Choose one, man. That goes back to the cover, goes back to what we were talking about with Fam, goes back to the minutes that he was allotting to. Maybe we see a boost in Tatum and we see a downplay in James and Luka because of spreads and totals and competitive game environment. But which of it is it that you like here between Luka, James, and Tatum?
I think it's got to be Luka, right? Like, I get why we're having the conversation, but just like
he's kind of fat.
But just think about the question of where we've been drafting Luka literally his entire career. Just right. Like, I think you gotta just take Luka 3 and enjoy the bags because you're gonna have them.
I like it. I respect it, dude. 5 facts about is just saying why not both. Apparently he's got the Braun Luka team already there with the falling Q tags. I imagine there's going to be some second round Luka that was falling earlier in the day. Yep. And then Corey wants a full extensive breakdown of the Jose series.
Soon come. Baseball soon come, Corey. Wendinger. Bullpen. When bullpen.
When bullpen is on the horizon, because we were having a conversation. We don't know definitively, but we were having a conversation with our guy Numi today, and Numi doesn't normally ask random baseball questions in the middle of November unless it's for a reason. So there's potential some baseball on the horizon here for our baseball guys. Excited for that. Get your Mr. Good Boys in the chat here. The dogs are out. Nez, best of luck tonight to you. Best of luck to the community. Well, I fucking need it. You don't, apparently. I'm out here jamming D-tag Embiid to put up 12 points like a donk. All right, Nez, any party words for the people?
Nah, best of luck, and I'll see you in the lobbies.
Best of luck. We'll see you in the lobbies tomorrow. Definitive preview for NFL plus a little bit of hoop stuff because there is going to be a back-to-back laden slate tomorrow. It'll probably be a nice monster show in the middle of the day, 2 p.m. Eastern. Thursday will be a paywall for Primetime Palooza plus NBA. And then Friday will be, although I think the NBA slate is really bad on the Thursday again. So maybe Primetime Palooza and some more football. And then 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Guys, we showcased Unabated today. It's going to be one of our new homes. We've been using it behind closed doors for multiple weeks now. Nez's results speak for themselves. Promo code BADGE at sign up and or hit the link in the description below. Shout out to Justin for joining us. OG legend amongst our tight little DFS bubble here of NBA scene. On behalf of Nez, I'm John. Everybody's favorite time of the show, the end. Peace. See you tomorrow.